Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 2 of the Between the Buns podcast. This is your boy Blue Weeds coming at you with episode 2. And I'm with my co-host, my colleague, my good friend Hype Beast. Talk to him.
What's happening, everybody, man? It's your boy, Mr. Hypebeast Burger, man. Hey, look, I'm excited to get into it, man. Episode 2, man. We're making progress. We're gonna get better and better each week. And I'm looking forward to this one, man. Let's jump into it.
All right, all right. Before we get into the topics, make sure you are following myself, Blue Weeds, and Hype Beast Burger on social media. And make sure you are following the Between the Buns podcast on all your social medias, Instagram,
Definitely.
TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify for the audio, the visuals. We're going to have shorts coming up of different topics. We're going to have y'all engage with us on episodes to hear your feedback and to even include them on the episodes so we're listening to y'all. And that would give us some things for Carlton and I to disagree and agree about, because something we love to do is agree to disagree.
Hey, and speaking on that, if you wanna be a guest on this podcast, man, slide in the DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like slide in the DMs. Let us know what you want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like I know I got a few people that I want to bring to the table, man. I just want to like have a little
Same.
little powwow, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm excited to get this thing popping off, man. And it's a lot of very talented foodies out there that you and I both know personally, some that
Mhm.
we know individually, and some individuals that I feel like that are just on a clear trajectory to like just skyrocket through the whole food scene. And man, I hope we can bring them to the table, man, and share some of their takes on everything. We try to say as biased as possible when it comes to certain things, but I think we know between each other, we know a lot of good people, man, and we definitely got to get on this platform with us.
Absolutely, because if it's one thing, we're not just promoting local businesses. We love promoting other hardworking individuals around us
For
with their
sure.
social media, their business, their brand. So we're here for it. We're here to advertise y'all. We're here to hear you out. We're here to give you the spotlight and tell your story. I know we're still on the growth, but let's grow together. Let's all broadcast one another.
And one thing about it, this whole algorithm shift up, you know what I mean, like across all platforms, you know what I mean. It's not the easiest to navigate, and I think that's one thing that I hope we can bring value to the community that tunes in each week with us. They understand that there's a lot of intricate details that goes into posting daily, if not weekly. You have to be consistent. That's number one, right? But it's a lot of behind the scenes effort that goes into this, and we want to make sure we're giving all our fellow foodies their flowers, show them some love. So if you want to be a part of this platform, man, come holler at us, man. Holler at Trav, holler at me. We're more than happy to have you on, man. And yeah, let's make some magic. And also, I don't want to exclude not just the foodies, right? I don't want to exclude the restaurateurs, the chefs, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? The cooks, the people that are cooking out of their kitchen and selling plates on the low, and they saying fuck the government, you ain't getting my tax money. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanna show love to all of that, man. Like all of that. Come on, man. Come on, come on. Let's make some magic, man. Let's
We can't
do
be
it.
dry snitching. Can't be dry snitching, but I'm with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, you let me tell it. I'm gonna say they got their paperwork legit. You know what I'm saying? Like their
Yeah.
paperwork is locked and loaded. But you know what I mean? That's between them and us. You know what I'm saying? I ain't telling nobody.
For sure, for sure. You touch up on a great moment about restaurants, especially the local restaurants. The thing about these spots is people don't know how to find them. People don't know how
Yeah,
to find these local spots, and a lot of times they do word of mouth. Um, the more popular research for restaurants or any business is Yelp. I know I mentioned on episode 1 that that was something I did to learn new restaurants, and little did I know when I lived in Winter Park, it was a foodie haven because there was a lot of different restaurants over there compared to where I grew up in the South Orlando, Kissimmee area. And I remember having not Ruth Chris, Tibby's out there, Tibby's New Orleans style food. I remember having a grilled cheese restaurant called Toasted, and I'm like, why? Like, this is all over here. What is all this dynamic? There was a Italian type of restaurant that was like Chipotle called Italio, where you build your own pasta bowl, and it
Mm.
and it was a good concept. It's no longer around, but Yelp Yelp was something that helped me learn more about these little mom and pop spaces. And not only did I realize that Yelp was a good research tool, it's also a community of its own.
Yeah,
And I
very
remember
true.
and I remember when my wife and I went to watch a movie, it's called the Artagon now, but back in the day it was called Festival Bay. And it's a big indoor area. Like now it's like it has an indoor car museum, a bowling alley, um, it has a paintball place, go-karts. Before it was trying to become something, but we were walking out from seeing a movie and we saw a section for Yelp. And we were like, what's that about? We Yelp, we do reviews. What's going on there? And I didn't go investigate because as a black man, I'm not approaching a bunch of white people asking questions. So I just kept it moving. And for the record, my wife is white, so call me what you want. But I was just like not doing that. So maybe a little less than a year. You know how it is. You know how it is, man.
Oh
So
yeah.
I I continued to Yelp, continued to do reviews, and then lately realized that hey, you can communicate with one another, you can compliment each other on their reviews, and you can socialize. And I remember seeing people with a Yelp badge, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But there was an annual Yelp party that happens at the Orlando Science Center, and this theme was the masquerade. And still, my wife and I didn't know anybody; it was just us. And we went. We had like a good date night, but you could see the community of people coming together with their friends and people knowing each other, and they were cheering on this community manager whose name was Andy at the time. She's still involved with Yelp, very well known in the Orlando area. And I'm thinking this person's really popular. But okay, this is cool. This was a good little get together for everybody to try different local foods in the area and people to dress up to the nines and have a good time. And this is before kids too. And
Very
I
important.
remember I remember sometime later, I stumbled upon her page and I just sent a compliment to one of her reviews. And then we engaged in a little conversation. And then she said, hey, I sent you a invitation. I sent you something in your inbox. Let me know when you get it. So I'm like, man, what you sending me in my email? Like, what's going on? So I checked the email and it's a link and it was a red envelope and it said, you are now Yelp Elite. I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, okay, I got a nice little red badge by my name on Yelp. And I was like, okay, cool. And I read a little review about what it is, and it says you can get invited into exclusive events. So then I told myself, okay, that's what I saw inside the Artagon. That was a little personal event. So you see events for Yelp Elites only, and there was one happening for Earl's Restaurant. And I was thinking, okay, let me just RSVP for it. It's a night I'm available. And these events you can either get in or not get in. But this was my first official Yelp Elite event that I got in. Again, I didn't know anybody. And all these people are sitting there around the bar, they're drinking, they're talking. I was sitting there thinking, this is some other kind of party going on. This ain't no foodie stuff. People are socializing for real. And I sat next
So
to a
they all
guy.
knew each other, right?
They all
That's
knew
what
each other
you
within the
gathered
community, pretty
immediately.
much.
Okay,
Like
that's
Yelp
what
is
I
its own community.
yeah.
And I sat next to a guy and we just chatted. He said he Yelps but barely goes to any events. And I was telling him it's my first event. And then we all sat down at a table and we sat with two other people. And Andy came out and she said, hey, we're gonna bring out some food. And then there's a drink menu that you all can look at to order a drink. Now I'm not gonna hold y'all. I wasn't making the most money at the time. So when I'm looking at these drinks and looking at this food, I'm like, I didn't expect to be paying a lot of money, bro. Like this is 9 courses of food, and you got these beverages here. So I'm just drinking water. And
Hold
Andy
on,
comes,
hold on. Pause that.
what's up?
At no point in the introductory to Yelp Elite status were you notified that you would have complimentary foods, like complimentary drinks? This was
If
just like
if it was
show
said, I
up.
didn't see it. If it was said, I didn't see it because I was just told, "Hey, come try the food at Earl's," and it was also an
Miss
award
Andy,
night.
hold on. I think Miss Andy, she would have lost me there.
No, no,
At
no.
the
You didn't let me
beginning.
get to the part. You didn't let me get to the part because this is going to change your mind about her, because she approached me later on and was like, "Hey, your name is Travis, right?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, she actually remembered me from the interaction, and we chopped it up a bit. And then she said, "How come you're not drinking?" And I was like, "Listen, I didn't come here expecting to pay a lot of money. I just, I took an invitation." She was like, "Oh no, everything's covered. You just got to leave a tip." And I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" And she's like, "No, I'm not. Anything you want." So I had about 3 drinks.
Yeah,
I had about 3
you
drinks.
should have led with that.
But I was still in the middle. It was like early in the night. It wasn't like late at the night. And
Because
mind
first
you,
off,
9
because
courses of
I'm
food,
gonna say this, like I'm not
9
going
courses
to
of
any
food.
function sober. I'm not
I
going to not one function sober. Like count
well,
me out of it. If I gotta be
I
sober,
mean,
I'm not going.
I appeared sober and I still left and feeling nice and buzzed, but I saw why everybody else was the way they were because they were pre-gaming at the bar and then they were drinking to the nines at the table. So we did the 9 courses of food. I had about 3 drinks. I left my tip and I met some people that I knew on Yelp. And I remember once I got to the car, I called my wife and I said, "Babe, you need to become elite. I'm gonna show you all these pictures I took and everything I got and tell you what happened." And when I got home, I told her the spiel and she said, "Really?" But then a few months later, she became elite too. And
So
we
this is
did
my
that a lot
thing.
as a couple.
I feel like when you're prospecting a place to eat at or a place to drink, or maybe a place to sleep for the night. Let's say you're traveling. Um, everybody's first inclination is to go straight to Google. What's your take on Google reviews on a food or a restaurant or food or anything versus Yelp? Like, what separates them?
I would say what separates them is Yelp. So people will create an account before I get into the answer. People will create an account to leave a negative review because I remember reading a book. I don't remember it from the life of me right now. I think it's like the Something of Excellence, but it talks about how customer service can really just give you can change your whole experience of a dining experience. Like you can go to a restaurant 10 times. It's your favorite restaurant. And that 10th time you went and you had a bad customer service experience, you'll leave that as your last remark and not go to that restaurant for a while. And I say that because some people will make a Yelp profile and check in just to leave a bad review. They don't even have a picture on there. Same as Google. I will say that more people are familiar with Google because it's already on their phone. They don't have to download an app, make a
Correct.
profile. So Google is probably more used as Yelp. I will say you can tell a lot of people that use Yelp, you can tell the ones that are really honest are the ones that are just bitter.
Or what I was going to say is, going back to what you just mentioned, the community driven obligation to post and to share is almost the same uh, community oriented vibes that you get from Instagram, which is where I started, right? And I think you have, the incentives of being able to access grand openings or to be elite status and show up to these various events where everything's free and comped. Those are great opportunities, but I also think that you get people's true, genuine takes on it, and then people can critique them from a negative manner. I think that's always going to happen. Like anytime you open something up for the public, you open it up to be subjectively criticized or glorified, right? So my thing with Yelp and what I personally like about Yelp, and I've had this conversation with a lot of restaurant owners and chefs, and they thought like, oh, Yelp is this negative platform. I think it can be, but I think the restaurants or the chefs and the restaurateurs that lean in on those opportunities to allow a bunch of people with, consistent influence and consistent posting on a platform like Yelp, where it's, almost, you get celebrated if you actually, or incentivized if you actually post consistently and share your views and your takes on a specific establishment. I think those are the platforms that are going to breed, like, when I went to my first Yelp event, I'll say this, I felt almost obligated to highlight all the good and share none of the bad. You know what I mean? I just got free food, this, that, and the third. But I think the restaurants that suffer whenever they do experience a negative review, they just get quiet. And in my research, just being in my personal industry, I found that people that are restaurant owners or owners in general, any business, when they're quiet, when they receive negative feedback, that's almost deemed as a double negative. You know what I mean? So, like, I think Yelp just gives you an opportunity to, even as the owner, to comment and respond, but also, just get genuine feedback. And maybe I'm making sense, maybe I'm not, but I feel like Yelp is just catered for just genuine comments and reviews. Whereas Google, I feel like it can be a little more vague, you know what I mean? Because like you mentioned, and this is, I guess, the biggest point to it, everybody has Google on their phone. So anytime you have a negative experience, what's that saying? Like, the loud or the negative is always going to be louder than the positive. That's just how life is. You know what I mean? In a lot of cases, you know what I mean? People will whisper your accomplishments and scream out your failures, right? So, like, I think with Yelp, it's actually community driven. And I think that kind of breeds an environment to where you can get a very, very precise perspective on whether that's a good establishment or a bad establishment, but also the owners who actually are leaning into Yelp, they have the opportunity to comment on it, to turn a negative into a positive.
Well, the thing with Yelp events versus a person leaving a review on the restaurant itself is it is separated. So when you look at these reviews and a person, let's say somebody went to Earl's for a regular dine-in, they check into Earl's and they leave a review for Earl's and what they experienced. But if you go to Earl's for, let's say, a Yelpy event or a Yelp event, it literally says Yelp event at Earl's. So people are to be leaving a review on their experience for the Yelp event, because sometimes some people will leave a review for both to try to add their reviews up. But the community manager will catch that and say, don't leave a review on the restaurant for the Yelp event, because this is a separate experience from if you were to dine in versus you experiencing it through Yelp. And they'll remove that review. I've also seen restaurants that do get bad reviews, depending on what the review is, they can remove them, because there was some ice cream shop that got a 1-star review because they said they didn't let their dog in. So you're leaving 1-star review because not the ice cream, just because your dog couldn't come in. And don't get me wrong, all you dog lovers out there, I understand your dog is like your child, but it's not fair to leave a bad review for a place because your dog can't go in. You can't bring a dog into Publix either. You're going to hate Publix now?
But even speaking on that too, right? So I've noticed like a lot of big food content creators, let's say a Keith Lee, he's very adamant about the general public should get the same experience as him.
Oh, I agree.
He'll spin the block and he's like, hey, let me see if this food is really as good as it was the first time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of things can get overhyped by foodies, guys like you and I, or names that are bigger than us. And then the general public go to experience that and they get a lackluster experience. And you know what I mean? I don't think that's fair. And I definitely think that whatever that restaurateur brings to the table for a Yelp event, it should be the same for the general public. Like, don't bring out, the white glove treatment and roll out the red carpet. And then, when the general public comes, you're back to your mediocre cut and corner restaurant serving self.
Oh, I agree. And comparing a Yelp event to, let's say, my food review, I don't go to a restaurant telling them what I am or what I do, because I don't want that special treatment either.
I've said this already. I'm not a foodie.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know you're not, but sometimes you're recognized. Sometimes you're recognized. You're like, hey, aren't you this foodie? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, okay, I'll admit if you ask me, but I don't want to go. I don't go places saying, hey, I'm this foodie influencer and I want to review your food because I don't want special treatment. So I'll go to an establishment, spend 40, $50 on a bunch of food because 9 times out of 10, I'm bringing it home to the kids and my wife too. But it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to come in like a regular guest and they don't know if I'm going to review it until I go review it and I tag them. And I'm an honest reviewer. I will say that my palate is a lot broader than most people, but the more I've tasted food and talked about it, I am starting to notice a dynamic in quality. So I have been hitting more of like, hey, this could use a little more seasoning. Hey, this could be crispier. And a lot of times people assume, oh, they gave you something special because of who you are. And I'm like, how? When I didn't tell them who I was in the first place. And then there's people that say, well, you like everything. I do like a lot of things. I don't like everything. Because I even say, you may not like it, but I do. Or, hey, I don't like it, but you may like it.
For those that have been following my personal page, Hypebeast Burger, it's been around since 2019, end of 2019, pretty much the beginning of COVID. There's little signs that whether I was feeling it or if I wasn't. But because of the premise of my whole starting that page was based on highlighting the restaurant and shedding light on it during a time that was tough for a lot of business owners, especially because my main focus was on mom and pop. You'll just see like the clear indicators will be like, oh, the ambiance was fire, or the bartender was showing love with the drinks. You know what I mean? I'll put more emphasis on those things that don't necessarily like affect anybody's experience with the food. But I try to give as genuine of a feedback as possible, but I definitely don't want to be a hater. I hate when people call me a food critic. And I think that's where some people get a negative taste in their mouth when it comes to Yelp, because they feel like there are a lot of food critics when they go home and they put ketchup on their steak or they eat their steak well done. Like, these type of people aren't the type of people that me personally, I feel like should be a food critic at all. You know what I mean? Now, with me, I've had burgers from all across the country, like thousands at this point in my life. I'm 37 years old. I feel like I have a very heightened sense of what a good burger is, man. Like, that's just me, man. Like, I'm Hypebeast Burger for a reason. Like, I'm gonna hype it up if it's worthy of being hyped. I'm gonna just keep it pimping and say like, hey, look, it's still a burger at the end of the day. Like, how bad can it get? So I'm not really hating on any burgers because burgers is a really general item that is really hard to mess up, but it's very difficult to execute at a high level.
When you have a favorite in food, that's something you should be. So if your favorite food is burgers, you should have more of a critique on burgers being perfect or being that needs to be done. I know when I worked at a restaurant and I told my manager I was a Yelper, he was like, I ought to fire you because you guys think y'all are food critics and y'all are just regular Joe Schmoes and y'all just do this for fun and that could really hurt a business. And I'm like, I get that. I'm like, that's fair, because I met some people that, again, make some terrible complaints about an establishment. And then those that are like,
but that mentality is why restaurants fail and why they hate.
Oh, it is. It is. I'm not defending when it comes to that regard. I understand why they feel that way. And so that's what I'm saying. I see the pros and cons of it. But, social media can do the same thing. Social media, when people can advertise a place, because a lot of times these foodies will eat something and say, oh, it's so good, it's so delicious. And then once the camera's down, they throw it away. I've seen them do it. I've heard about them doing it. And that's why I'm like, you're not tasting it on the mic. You're doing it on the back.
Have you seen that girl that's been doing food reviews? Let's pretend this microphone is like the food. She'll grab it and she'll be like, so I'm trying this sandwich. Literally doesn't put anything in her mouth, and it's like the most crazy thing I've ever seen.
Kim Kardashian, You seen it? She does the Kim Kardashian. You seen that video?
No.
You haven't seen that? There's a video of Kim Kardashian talking about her vegan burgers, your favorite, and she literally
And she's
doesn't take a bite of
fabricating the bite. She's not really taking a bite. That's this
no.
lady.
All right, check this out.
The mission of Beyond Meat that I've stepped in to help with my greatest asset, my taste.
Look at the burger.
This plant-based meat is not only amazingly delicious, but it's also better for you and better for the planet.
Burger. Do
My
you see a
taste.
bite mark on this burger?
Not one. It's
Not
literally
one.
a straight line. Come on, man. Don't be
That's-
lying
that's
to the people, Kim K.
Yo, somebody on TikTok
Yeah,
called it out and was like eating like a lemon and eating like an orange and was just like, and that's why like when you see my videos, I'll bite into it and you see me like you got the mess on my face because it's like, no, I'm biting in and I have to crop out like a good 5 seconds of me chewing because I'm trying to get to my description as I'm thinking about it.
That's one of those untold stories that I don't think people realize. Like whenever you're you can't go back and rebite, right? And then if you're trying to record this whole situation in its entirety, you know what I mean? You got to give yourself some grace to actually swallow it down. So a lot of times it takes some really, really, really good editing skills to, like make sure it flows well, right? But at the same time, taking small bites is very important, right? You got to take a smaller bite just so you can like consume it and get to the commentary if that's what your platform is doing, which I think that's one of the things that you bring the most value to social media with is your actual reaction videos. I love those because I remember I DM'd you when I first saw you doing them. I was like, man, nobody really does this. Nobody really gives any kind of real-time insight on what it is. I know I wasn't, and I still don't. I'm still Bush League where I'm gonna give you a quick little pick. That's why I love platforms like Yelp because that's all you can do on Yelp. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate the roses on that, but you keep IG for what IG was, which is photos. You'll occasionally do some videos too, and like you said, you do it in your stories. And if people followed you for a while, they can tell when you don't like it versus when you do. But that's something that keeps Instagram from being Instagram because a lot of times out of 10, you go to Instagram, there's not one picture; it's all videos now. That's Instagram has become TikTok.
Which brings us to the In Between the Buns podcast. This is why we do what we do, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we want to keep it fresh, innovative. This is why we want to share some of our takes on it behind the scenes, give you a little glimpse into our head and what's going on, why we do what we do. We love what we do, obviously, man. Like, there's no better job in the world than to enjoy, something nice and juicy between two buns. Wait, I'm sidetracked. I was thinking about my wife for a second. My bad.
I must say, let me leave the chat.
What we got next, man? I know we're coming up on time.
We were talking about places for food research or food recommendations. So we want to talk about the best platforms to find food recommendations if you don't Yelp or if Google is not enough. I'm gonna let you start from there regarding that topic for what you've used or what you've seen people use for food recommendations.
Yeah, so we've touched on Google, we've touched on Yelp. I think there's a clear consensus between you and I that we feel like Yelp is a good platform to highlight and celebrate or, share some subjective opinions on a food establishment. But I want to know from you guys, the people.
And let me touch up on this. My bad. I didn't mean to interject. You don't go places and see highly reviewed on Google, but you'll see stickers saying highly rated on TripAdvisor or Yelp loves us. So you'll see overalls on that, but you don't see Google stickers like that. Again, Yelp has a name that shows, hey, this place has been highly favored. And there's even awards for being a best restaurant in a certain year from Yelp.
Yeah, I think for today's episode, man, we both can agree. Yelp has a lot of positives. So, I haven't got that Yelp Elite badge now that I'm a Tampa, Florida resident. So I don't know if you know people, man. Let them know, like your boys in the neighborhood, man. I'm ready to roll, man. I'm ready to get some things popping in Tampa.
I do. You met some of them at Dessert Wars.
Like we'll have to throw in some content of you and I like kicking it at the Dessert Wars. But I came across this girl, full tattooed sleeve, platter full of desserts. I mean, there's hundreds of vendors serving up cookies, cakes, puddings, donuts, you name it, ice cream, everything, man. It's a fat kid's dream at this Dessert Wars in Tampa, Florida. And Travis gave me the invite, so I rolled with him. But I remember coming up on this girl, and I saw her desserts are stacked up in her to-go plate. I'm like, girl, is that gonna fit? You know what I'm saying? It could have been taken a lot worse. I'm glad. That's probably why she looked at me a little crazy, and I haven't got Yelp Elite status yet. She was like, "Oh, that's that dude, Hypebeast Burger Man." But no, man. So she couldn't close it, and then like afterwards, some of the food creators that you introduced me to, we started following each other on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I noticed like that same girl, and I was like, "Oh, she runs the Yelp of Tampa page," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I follow her. I can't think of her name.
That's not the person I thought then. Never mind. But okay. I mean, it could have been that woman that was claiming you bumped into her and knocked her dessert down.
Oh, like just came up with some like, come on, girl. I wasn't even close to her. I think I just may have said something to her, like, and she like started moving through the people and like ended up spilling some stuff. And then she's like, "You made me." I'm like, "Come on, baby. I'm like COVID distance from you, baby."
Oh my God. I was front row to that. And I'm just like, I'm making sure it doesn't escalate. But
you know I can't be hot-headed sometimes, but I was pretty even keeled.
You kept it cool. You kept it cool. I just saw the miscommunication is gonna go way left.
One thing that's not deniable about me when it comes to communication, like I feel like my nonverbals will say it all. If I'm happy, you'll see I'm happy. If I'm looking a little confused, like you're gonna see it. Like
your face tells
me. My nonverbal cues would tell on me 9 times out of 10. But I think I was like, you probably witnessed this. I was looking at her like,
yeah, I noticed. Now I was right there, so I was like, okay, I'm making sure it doesn't get too out of hand because I saw it happen. So I'm like, all right, ain't that big of a deal, man.
Foodie in their food. But with that being said, or especially that, we want to know what's y'all's go-to platforms. What do y'all use when you're on a search for new food, new cuisine, fresh ideas for places to grab food for the fam, for you personally, or if you're like me, when you're traveling. When I'm traveling, I'm always using multiple platforms. One of the things that I do a lot, I'll actually go and research foodies within that community, and I'll just reach out to them directly. A lot of times when I'm actually in the community, I'll utilize Yelp. Rarely do I use Google, but I want to know from you guys. And Travis, I know you're a Yelp fan. You're a Yelp elite. I'm very interested in seeing what the people use whenever they're traveling, or even within their own communities. How do they source new food, new burger ideas, new food ideas, whether it's pizza, pasta, Italian? And what are your search parameters? I want to know that. Like, sometimes I'm just looking for soul food, right? I'm from Alabama, so like I'm looking for country cooking, and it's not very common in Central Florida. You get a little more Latin flair with everything south of Gainesville, right? So I want to know what the people do, how they do it. That'll be a good conversation to kind of kick off episode 3. Just get us some content to start rolling off of.
Yeah, that's something we could touch up on. I know for me, I've done what you've done. I've reached out. I would literally publicly say, any foodies in this area, give me some recommendations, or anybody familiar with this area. Like I know when I went to Denver, I said, anybody that has been to Denver or in Denver, give me some recommendations. I found some Facebook group pages about some places. Like I went to Naples one time and I was trying to find a place for a dinner. And I found a Naples food page and I was picking people's brains. And I said, hey, I'm coming to Naples on this day. Like during this period, I want to try these types of foods. Because let me just say this for the record. When you go places and you ask people for recommendations, you need to be specific. Because I'm the type of smart ass, if you say, hey, where's a place I can get something to eat? I'm gonna send your ass to Waffle House. Especially when people come to Orlando and it's a melting pot of food options. You need to tell me you want vegetarian, you want soul food, you want seafood, you want sushi. I need to know specifically what you're looking for, because you go to these places and they're so broad, but people are just like, oh, I want to find a good mom and pop spot. Again, what kind of food?
And when people ask me, and that was another main reason why I started the page, right? I was traveling so much. Every city I would go to, a lot of my friends and close family, like, they knew that I'd been in New York, I've been to LA, I've been to Houston, I've been to Chicago. So they were like, hey, what's a good place to eat? Look, guys, I'm only doing burgers. You know what I mean? Like, now I know of a couple of spots, but the main reason I wanted to start this Hype Beast Burger page was just so I can leave a crumb trail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a visual documentation of my experience from me to the people, so you can see what I got going on, see what I tried, and you can gauge it for yourself. I think me and you both know a lot of places that can come highly recommended, even from locals, can be a hit or it can be a bust. And I think everybody's taste buds are subjective, but how you share your opinions, how you reflect on it, I think it can all be a toss up, man. So I want to know, like, how do people gauge what they consider something that's worthy of even testing out, even amidst, or am I saying that right? Amongst all the negative comments, or even the good comments. You know what I mean? I think you really have to be specific, like you said, but you gotta understand that everybody's different. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of burgers, so I'm not easily impressed at this point. It takes a lot. You know what I mean? You have a more eclectic palate. You're trying everything, so they got to come with it to really knock your socks off, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean, most times it's like I don't need nothing too special, especially depending on how much I'm paying. Because if I'm paying a good $12-15, I'm not expecting too much, especially for a burger, because that's like the average price for a good burger now. But if I'm paying something outrageous, I'm like, all right, bro, this burger better give me some superpowers or something, because that's a lot. You know what I mean? So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm locked in.
so
I don't even care. Like, first off, like, I was just in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I was in Vegas.
Tell them.
Yeah. Tell them. I mean, literally everything there is designed to pull your money. What's the spot that I went to? Oh man, I gotta look it up real quick. Most recently, and I tried like 3 or 4. Many of them I haven't even posted yet. But it was Posh Burger. Now it's located in Astoria, which is a very, very popular resort and casino. Posh Burger, for just a double burger, fries, and I got an alcoholic bev because I just landed. Like, why not? Just touch down, put my feet on Vegas soil. I got to get an alcoholic bev, right? I want to say my total was like $34 for just a double burger, small order of fries, and an alcoholic canned beverage. Now, one thing that they also had, they had a $100 burger, the high roller burger, which is ridiculous. I don't care if I just won the jackpot for $100,000. I'm not spending no $100 for a burger, but that's just me. But I'm willing to pay upwards of 20 to 30. You know what I mean? And that, hopefully that includes, fries. Because for me personally, fries are like a condiment to a burger. I gotta have it. I take a bite of a burger, and I take a couple fries in there. You know what I mean? So that's just me personally. But I agree, man. Sometimes these people are getting a little outrageous with the prices, but I roll with it. I'm here for it, especially if it's a good experience. The atmosphere is popping, the drinks are flowing. I'm willing to pay the cost. I think the environment does breed an expectation and almost an openness, or I think people are more likely to accept crazy prices or trends or fads or different things going on in the food world in certain environments. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing, man. But I want to know what the people think, man. So share with us, like drop some game in the comments, man. We want to know what y'all think. We want to know what first and foremost, we want to know what platforms y'all are using, like, and how do you source the best food?
For sure. For sure. Well, we're about to wrap up the episode 2 for the Between the Buns podcast. Still gotta get used to saying that in one take. But again, if you like what you heard, please like the video, please share it, please subscribe, please follow. Any person that does food content, anybody that just loves food, that's what this is gonna be about. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. This is Baloo Eats signing out. My slogan is I'm digging in. Hype, you got something for them?
Hey, man, once again, I can't thank y'all enough for staying tuned with us and In Between the Buns podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're right here with us. Me and my boy Trav, man, it's always a pleasure. And make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back next week with more content, more talk, more burger convos, and everything in between.
All right, I love it. All right, everybody, have a blessed day. Enjoy your night. Whatever you're doing, dig on in.